the thousandth time. How are you, Steve?
I am well, thank you. I like how we've done this quick pivot here. We had another plan in mind for this afternoon, and now we're pivoting to a live show. So, how are you?
You know what? I'm good. I love it though when we're ready to record, and then like if something happens, it's like, let's just do it anyway, right? So no, it's been good. I've been busy, so it's kind of nice to take a break from work a little bit and chat with you and whoever happens to be wanting to take a work break right now with us.
Yeah, you keep wanting to remind everyone of remember during the pandemic when we used to do these videos like three,
Mhm.
4 times a week, or
Oh my gosh.
they were fun, but I don't know if I want to get back to that. That was rough.
It was rough. You know what? I'm glad you mentioned that because it's like we used to do it truly in order to take a break from work. And now, and let's talk about this because one of the things I wanted to talk to you about is today is National Take Back Lunch Breaks Day. So it
Okay.
kind of fits, right? Whether it's for lunch or another reason. But I don't know. I mean, you've worked in corporate settings, you've worked remote, you've worked hybrid. Do you take time for lunch or a break during your day, or are you
I
someone
would
like
say
cloud
about
through?
half the time I do, I will take a break away from my desk and eat lunch. Not every day, but I'd probably say about every other day for sure. I
Okay.
did today, as a matter of fact. Yeah,
Did you?
I did.
I'm probably like you, but I think back to when I was working in corporate, it was rare,
Yeah.
rarely. And it always depended on where the lunchroom or break room was in relation to my office. Like how far did I have to walk to do that? And so many times I would just not take a lunch break.
Well,
So,
but if you go back even further, though, right? Like I
yeah.
can remember the start of my sort of corporate career, the couple
Mhm.
places I worked. Getting up and going to lunch was the norm. It was less common to sit at your desk and eat lunch, whether you purchased something or brought it from home. More people got up and went out or went to
That's
we had
true.
company cafeterias in a couple of the places where I worked, right? And that
Yeah.
was much more common back then, and not so much now, probably.
Yeah, I wonder. We should ask someone who's still working. If anyone's on and wants to put in the chat, like,
Pacific time, it's lunchtime. Yeah, they could
right? Like,
chime in.
are we still taking lunch? What are we doing? Like, I'm just not even sure if that's still
Yeah,
a
and that's a good kind of topic too, because today on the Workplace Minute, or maybe it was yesterday, I can't remember, but the last Workplace Minute I did was I was talking about something called the infinite workday. I don't know if you've heard this
no. What is
term. I'm
that?
not sure if it's a full-on term yet, but it came from Microsoft. So Microsoft has a lot of data, as you might imagine, about work, right? Through
Sure.
the millions of organizations that use Microsoft tools for email, for calendar, for meetings, for messaging, right?
Yeah.
And apps, right? Productivity apps like all the Office apps. And now, since so many of those are actually just being used in the cloud, right, by
Mhm.
organizations, they can really get to a lot of great data around how emails usage is tracking, calendar, messaging, et cetera, et cetera. And they
Mm.
basically came out with a report the other day that says people are, and maybe we all knew this, but the data, they have a lot of data behind it now. Like people are getting up 6 a.m.
Mhm.
in their email, right? And
Yeah.
they're in their email, and then around 10 a.m. the messages start, and then the meetings start, and then the average person's getting 115 emails a day or something like that. And
Wow.
then in the afternoon, there's a little bit of a lull in emails and Teams messages, and that's when app usage picks up. That's when they see a spike in
Okay.
PowerPoint and Word and Excel, because now people are actually doing the work, right? That they're meant to be
Right.
doing, and they're not having meetings about it or messaging about it. But then it spikes up again later in the day, and then even in the evening, right? The thing that they
Mhm.
called the triple peak. I don't know if you remember that term from the pandemic, right? When
Yeah.
people were forced to work from home,
Yep.
everybody was, I should say everybody, many people were logging back in though in the late in the evenings,
Yeah.
right after they got through their responsibilities at home and maybe dealt with kids, or maybe some folks they were giving care to, and I'm going to talk about that in a second.
Mhm.
So that's all real, and that's all still happening. And just the amount of interruptions that are happening during the course of the day, the amount of inbound messaging that's happening during the day, the meetings, everything. It points to just tremendous overload and opportunity for burnout. So it's good data. You can listen to the Workplace Minute where I talk about it, or just Google Infinite Workday, and you can read the Microsoft study about it. So it's top of mind for me right now.
Yeah, no, I'm glad you mentioned that. I haven't read that study, but it makes sense. And I always here's a question for you related to that. So back when I was maybe in my 20s, I was working for PricewaterhouseCoopers. We had sort of, we were all salaried, or most of us were, we had expected overtime. I'm doing air quotes if you happen to be listening to this and not seeing it, but it was something to where I felt like it was actually flexibility I was getting. If I woke up at 3 in the morning, which I was notorious for doing, um, I could actually get online and there would be like 3 or 4 partners online at that time. And so we would be doing business sometimes at 3 in the morning, but then I felt like I could take a
That's weird.
little bit of a little slack maybe in the day. But I don't know. Have I just sort of brainwashed myself into thinking like that's normal? Like that's a
Yeah.
benefit to me when really that's
Run
not
that
a benefit.
by run that schedule by your Gen Z kids and see how they react. I'm
Oh my
feeling like
god,
that's a Gen X slash old school approach to things, maybe.
it
Yeah.
is, but then okay, so how do we get out of that? Like a good example is, Microsoft will tell you when you're sort of outside of your normal work hours.
Yeah.
Yesterday, I had a question for you and it was definitely like it was not 5 in my time zone, but it was 5 in yours, and I sent it anyway. Like
I know.
what should
I
we
was
be doing?
horrified. Yeah,
Were
it
you
was
horrified?
no.
No, but like I'm thinking like, see, so
No,
someone in my same
but
generation,
that
you didn't
that
think much of
you
it,
know,
but
and we're going to talk about that. We've got a couple of podcasts coming up on some of these topics, I know, and but that's important, not so much between you and I messaging, right, in our small company, but like
right.
when you're the director, or you're the head of HR, or you're the CFO or the CEO, right, you're in one of those
Yeah,
roles, one of those positions of power and authority. If you're
right.
firing off those emails at 10 p.m. on Thursday night and kind of half
Yeah,
expecting or expecting a reply, right? That's a different kind of conversation, right? Entirely. And it's important things to think about it. And it's not new. What's new about this is now we actually can get data around it, right?
right.
I probably wrote on my old blog like 10 years ago that you could tell everything you wanted to know about a company culture by analyzing email traffic, at night and on the weekends, right? And
You
this
have
was
said that
before
many times.
hybrid work and work from home and all this stuff, right? And
Yeah,
I still think it's kind of true. Maybe it's not just email; it could be Slack or Teams messages or text,
it's
even
all
text
of it.
messages, right? But
Yeah.
it's important stuff, and we're still talking about it. Like I don't think the discussions around working conditions and working arrangements and the impact on people's lives, that's not done yet. Just because the pandemic's now 5 years old, or maybe three
Right.
years since it kind of was over, more or less, right? It's
Yes.
these issues are still really important, I think. So
You're right. Well, and it's been a lot all around since before our time, right? So it's not new. Um, but yeah, we have the data. I think you're right. That's the key differentiator. And so what do we do with that information in the coming years? How do we actually use it to change not just the overall company culture, but our own behavior?
yeah,
And normalize it, because you're right. I mean, as a leader, I would probably tell my team, I feel like I'm remembering I would tell my team, um, if I'm just a person, if I get up in the middle of the night and I've got some ideas, I might just send them. I have zero expectation of you answering them, but maybe that's not enough, right?
probably not.
Maybe
Yeah, I
zero
mean,
is
there's a lot of folks who now are using those delayed sending
yeah,
tactics, or
I know.
or they're putting
I
things in their
should.
email signature that says, hey, I'm sending this when it works for me. Don't you reply to it when it works for you, that kind
Oh,
of
I like
thing. Right?
that.
Yeah,
I like
something along
that.
those lines. But hey, one
So
of the other things we wanted to talk about real quick on this quick live is
yeah.
caregiving, right? Caregiving is one of the 7 top 2025 trends that we talked about in our workplace trends report.
Hmm.
And you and Karen are living caregiving for sure. I don't want you to give away like personal stuff, but
Yeah.
maybe talk a little bit about how caregiving is really kind of impacting all of us and impacting work and really hitting home right now.
No, I'm so glad you mentioned that. And yeah, I won't give away any personal details other than to say someone in our family has needed some care lately, and they're fine. Everything is fine, but still in need of care. And it could be for several months. We're just not sure. And so we've done shows on this before where, we've talked to different people about caregiving or how to plan.
Yeah.
And even with all of that preparation, I still felt like when it actually happens to you and a family member, that you love and care about, it really kind of, any plans somehow go out the window a little bit because there's emotion involved. There's, just love involved. And so I don't think we've touched on that. We do have the collection that's coming out in August, which will give a lot of resources for people, both podcasts, infographics, reports, different studies that have been done on caregiving and all the different aspects to think about. But I would just say, if you're listening to this and you have anybody that might have an issue come up where they really need some time. I mean, you were so good about, like, especially since it happened to Karen and I both, right? Your two coworkers.
Mhm,
Um, you have to have other people be able to pick up for you, and to
mhm.
not be afraid to tell other people that are expecting things of you what's going on, even in a limited way, right?
Yeah.
But I think that's hard. I think that's hard to do. You don't want to violate someone's privacy in your family, but you really do need to speak up and tell other people what you need from them, or I need to take a week or two and just be on a lot less than normal,
Yeah,
right?
and this is really probably a transitory experience right now, more or
Yeah.
less, right? That things will get better and
Yes.
maybe sort of get more normal, but I
Hmm.
think about what if it's not that kind of experience? What if it's an
Oh,
employee who's carrying with a really long-term situation, or maybe one of their children has a disability and has a special needs child, and that doesn't stop. That never goes away, right? And so the trade-offs and the decisions and the stress, all
mhm.
of it, I think all of us as people who care about the world of work and getting the workplace right should probably spend a little bit more time thinking about the role of caregiving and the responsibilities that employers have in supporting employees who are going through these things, and the responsibility we have to each other, right, as
Right.
people. So yeah, more to come on caregiving, but it's been
Yeah.
really interesting to have to live more of it than I've really, and I'm only sort of on the outside looking in a little bit, but
Yeah.
seeing it firsthand in a profound way has been really eye opening. Yeah.
Yeah. And yeah, I wouldn't wish, these situations on anyone, but definitely I'm learning as someone who normally keeps things very kind of close. You have to speak up. You have to have a culture that allows for that and encourages that. And that's something we all have the power to do. You don't have to be in a leadership role to, you might be a newer hire, right? A more junior hire. And if you notice that your boss or someone else who's been around a little bit longer than you is a little stressed, ask them, right? We need to normalize asking, are you okay? Is everything going okay? Is there anything I can do to help? And I think it's been amazing how the people that you kind of tell even a little bit, the first thing they say is, how can I help you?
Mm.
Right? Even if they're just someone else in your industry, someone else who's a competitor offering to help. I've had all sorts of people volunteering, and then sort of pay that forward, right? I always try, and if you see that someone posts, maybe someone close to them is sick that they're caring for, or a long-term illness
Sure.
like you mentioned, or a child, offer to help, right? It doesn't matter where you work or who you are, what your level is. Yeah, do the humane thing and be really helpful to people. So I know
Awesome.
we are going to be, because it's coming up in August, one of the things we're going to do is a workplace movie hall of fame. So for
Yes.
anyone, I know we've got a lot of people that love those and they like to watch the movie when we watch the movie, so that by the time we talk about it, they'll know what's going on. So the movie is Still Alice. If you haven't seen it, it's about early onset Alzheimer's.
Okay.
And I watched it like a decade ago when my grandma, who did not have early onset, but who was struggling with that at the time, um, it was really comforting to kind of know how the process works and things you could do to go through it. So, yeah, if you've not seen the movie, I encourage you to go watch it. Steve and I are going to rewatch it, or Steve, you're going
I've
to watch
never
it.
watched it, so it'll be the first time for me. I don't, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, and I'm gonna rewatch it, and then we're gonna come back together, and it will come out, probably late July or early August.
All
It'll
right,
be
if I could
part of our
tear
August.
myself away from Love Island long enough to watch it, Trish, I will. I
Do you
promise.
love Love Island?
I'm sucked in a little bit. Hey, real quick, Trish,
Yeah.
before we'll do another whole show on Love Island, I'm sure.
Oh my god,
Two
please.
things I want to mention real quick. One, shout out and congratulations to the OKC Thunder, my second favorite NBA team, sort of my adopted NBA team, for winning the NBA
Same.
championship a couple of days ago. Shout out to the Thunder. Shout out to our
Mhm,
friends at Paycom who sponsor
mhm.
the arena and are huge supporters of the Thunder, and were so
Yeah,
kind to us on a couple of different occasions, taking us to Thunder games over the years and getting to really experience the what it's like. The OKC Thunder are a wonderful franchise. Really got a friendly kind of small market feel to
oh
them.
my god,
Everybody knows you, and
yes.
they were so good to us. I spent a whole day at the Thunder at the arena. The one day I went there and
Yeah,
interviewed a bunch of members of the Thunder staff. Got to watch the game that night. Had a wonderful experience. So shout out to them. Congrats, and our friends at Paycom too.
yeah. You're like real friends with them. That's amazing. Love it.
Absolutely.
I love it.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
All right. Good stuff.
congratulations. So
And we'll be
anyway,
out of Sherm next week. Don't forget.
oh, I'm glad you said that. Yeah. Okay. When is the last time you went to Sherm? I don't even know if I remember. Like definitely
I
pre-pandemic.
do remember last year.
Oh, you did. You
I
did go.
did.
All right. So I have not been since before the pandemic. And yeah, we used to go every year. We would speak about usually HR technology, right? Buying, selecting, myth busting tech.
Yeah.
No, so we're going to be doing some speaking there. We're going to be doing some special things with our friends from Experian.
Yes.
And that's going to be really fun. And so yeah, we can't wait. So if you're going to Sherm, hit us up, send us a direct message, private message, whatever platform you're on, and let us know. And we'll hopefully at least be able to say hello.
Awesome. Well, great stuff, Trish. This was fun. Good pivot here today. Fun
I
to get
love
on
it.
and do a quick live.
I love it. I miss you and I miss everyone listening. So yeah,
Well, we'll
shout
see
out
you
to you all.
soon.
Okay. Bye-bye.